Morning everyone. The loom is still in the car because I kind of walked away from it last time after my success, and today I'm going to remove it again, lay it out neatly on the floor and then start insulating it. To that end, I've bought myself some braiding. This is the stuff a bit like a Mexican finger trap. When you compress it, it expands. Try hard to do one-handed, but I'm sure you get what I mean. The weave allows you to expand the tube essentially. Then you can put the wires through and then pull it tight and it collapses up again. So it's kind of handy stuff. I've also bought that in several sizes for different parts of the loom, from very tiny bits to big fat chunky bits. So we'll see how we get on and where I use different bits. Then I've also bought myself some electrical insulation, proper stuff. This stuff has an adhesive on the inside, as well as being heat reacting and shrinking. And the other benefit of this stuff is it's got a much higher shrinkage ratio of 4 to 1. So I should be able to slide some of this stuff over the bigger plugs, and then when I heat it with my brand new Wix heat gun, it will pull really tight. And that's the idea. Whether or not it works quite as I'm anticipating, I'm not sure. The loom originally would have all been covered in the weird corrugated plastic stuff. I don't know what I've done with it now, but I'm sure you are familiar with it, this stuff. So I'll probably reuse bits of this as well, particularly in areas where there's going to be mechanical damage and fretting, because this will hold up better than that braid. But yeah, gonna do that. So there's obviously wires I now know that I don't need, like all of these ones for the carbon canister, and fans, fan relays. I'm going to run my fans completely independently. That one I want to run somewhere, that was for the alarm, and in here is a diagnostics one. And I've been talking to Phil, who runs the P-Scan website and all of the supporting forum, and developed the P-Scan tool, which allows you to communicate with these older rovers. And we had a chat, and he's told me how to, I can't remember what I've done with it now, but in here is the diagnostics wire, and I know what to do with that now, so that's very helpful of him. So I'm just going to go through, terminate everything that needs to be terminated. And when I mean terminate, I mean just like these ones that I no longer need, snip off and insulate. Anything that might be alive, snip off and insulate, and then I can start taping and insulating. Not filming much of this, so I'm just going through, and anywhere where there's wires, snipping them off and then insulating them. And I've done it staggered, so they're not all in one big bundle together. They're kind of thinned out as they go back into the loom to avoid a big ugly clump somewhere. Okay, the loom is in, fuse box dummy mounted. A lot of it did end up being back with the corrugated and the insulation tape. Then other bits are with the braiding and the heat shrink. The heat shrink's really good. It's got the plastic glue inside, so when it shrinks down, it really sticks like anything. Then around this side, that's all done with the braiding as well. I decided not to run over the top because it just looks a bit rubbish. So once I've got the power steering pipes properly terminated, it's going to be clipped up to run with that as well, so it should look nice and neat and tidy. So I'm going to go through and just really do the very simple things like mount everything nicely. So the relay packs, the big fuse, I've bolted the battery tray in on its got stainless fittings with lots of copper slip on them, so they shouldn't corrode together. Yeah, that's really it, just buttoning everything down now. Also got to go and find my thermostat. I don't know whether I left it in there. Oh, I did, yeah, thermostat's in there, so I just need the gasket. And more of the same really, just check everything is buttoned up. Across the back of the engine, the loom is all taped up and nice, but it does need to sit in its mounts. So this is the fuel pipe, the low pressure return that runs from the fuel rail along the back of the inlet manifold. 2 lugs are bolted to the inlet, and the other 2 are to hold the wiring loom. So I'll go and find some clips that go in those holes, and they can go onto my wiring loom and hold it. And I need to find a little bracket to mount my relay. That will probably go up there. There's actually quite a lot going on in quite a small space under here. So I've just disconnected the fuse box again so that I can route all the looms nicely. Have the headlight wiring loom and the one that runs across the front all nicely routed. So a bit of a puzzle, but I'll get there. More fiddling around really. All of that area is done and arranged. All the looms run nicely. Really happy with that. Thermostat housing is down, thermostat is in, wiring all the way is terminated. I think I still haven't mounted that relay, and all the headlight loom and everything is loose. ECU is mounted, and I bought it myself, a rather nice stainless steel cover, but unfortunately it doesn't fit, so I need to chop and modify that because I don't want it to fret on my wiring loom and damage my wiring. So I have to do that later. I've been routing coolant hoses. That one goes onto the radiator, and then I need to make the loop, which would have come from here and gone all the way around to the header tank. And I did have, that's one of the stainless steel hoses or pipes. That one goes like that. And then the other one I'm going to need to steal back from the 420 Turbo. That will go here, and then there'll be some more of this red to join them together. So that's what I'm doing. Not a lot else going on really. This probably makes quite a few of you shout at your screen in frustration, but I've done absolutely nothing with this car other than park it under some trees and let it get covered in shit again, which is stupid. But space, time, other projects, jobs get in the way. So last time I was messing with this, I had pretty much sorted the wiring loom. I think I'd insulated it all, made it all nice and pretty. Then I'd robbed some bits off another car to put back on this one. So today what I want to do is finish the cooling system, fill it with coolant, fit the air intake, work out what I'm doing with the power steering, because I've got the high pressure line that runs in and okay, but the return doesn't yet. I need to terminate that. I also want to fit the exhaust, and basically then that is coolant, power steering, exhaust done, and wiring done. So we're not that far away. The exhaust, I have Scorpion back box twin pipe, a straight decap pipe but fitted with a resonator. And then over yonder I have stainless midsection which already has a decap pipe on it. So I think what I'm going to do is just clean this up, reuse that decap pipe because it's already old. There's a bolt broken off in there which needs cleaning up. Then I need to get some gaskets, bolt that onto the car and hang it properly. So I will clean that up and then jack the car up in the air and set to. You can't go to the trouble of fitting a stainless steel exhaust without it looking at least a little bit prettier than this. So I am going to give it a quick rub down with some wet and dry. And I did have a Brillo thing somewhere, so I might go and try and find that and see what works best. But anyway, try and clean it up a bit. Literally a bit of a rub down already, and that's what I'm getting. So well worth the effort. Might take a while, but I've got the radio on. That's curing over there, and yeah, it'll make me happy. I was getting some serious arm cramp doing it with the wet and dry paper, which is surprising considering how much that kind of movement is natural for me. But anyway, these bits won't come off unless you give it a bit of beans. So I'm resorting back to some 120 grit on the sander and that's taken it off nicely. And then I can go over any other areas. I've got, I think, 240 and maybe 400 or 800, so I can do the whole thing. And I might take a bit more of the rust off the can at the back as well. Okay, car's in here. Downpipe goes along there, flexy, long bit, suspiciously long bit. I don't know yet, because I've never had that exhaust on this car, whether it's going to be compatible with this downpipe. This is the large cookie type downpipe elbow, so I will have to go and get the other bits, throw it under the car in rough position and see where it fits and where it doesn't. I've also got to go and find some more rubbers to hang the thing and another gasket for the front. I've also reminded myself, but I never did up that front lower chassis engine stabilizer bar because I was missing a nut. So I need to go and find that and do that while I remember, because I don't want to forget. Forgot just how nice and clean it is under here. It always makes you feel a bit better about the car if it just looks nice top and bottom. So here, pretty. Good news is I found the right gasket, found some bolts. Bad news, I can't find any exhaust hanging rubbers, which is annoying because I knew I had loads of the things when I did the exhaust on the V8 car. But I've got a worrying feeling all of the boxes of the engine and exhaust and gearbox bits that I used at the NEC show on the Gold SD1 are still in the boot of the Gold SD1, which is around my dad's house. So I'm going to go look in the Cave of Wonders, but I'm not hopeful. That was a big fat fail. Didn't get any more hangers, but I did find 2 more of those gaskets, in fact 3 more, and importantly the 2-hole one, correct diameter for the back box, which is great because that saves me scurrying around looking for one of those. But I do need to basically fit the exhaust. I'll dummy mount it and I'll worry about the hangers later. Well, that was easy. I'm not saying it's done, but it is in there. I was lucky that I had 2 hangers still on the underside of the car, so they're holding the tailpipe up, and I was worried that that flexi downpipe was a bit too long. It's not, it's perfect. Obviously all of this is loose because I'm missing all of the hangers under here. I think I need 1, 2, 3 at least, and I'll probably buy them in a couple of different sizes. Then I can adjust the angle of the thing as it goes under the car, but in terms of the overall length it's perfect. Happy with that. Now I can go back and remind myself what was going on with the power steering. The biggest problem with the T16 conversions is getting high pressure out of the pump to the rack. That's done in terms of, oh no, it isn't. Oh yes it is. Yeah, it's that one there. So that's done. Happy with that. I was lucky in that I bought from Ian a Pertec pipe that had been made up and previously fitted with MG ZR T16 Turbo. So that's plug and play. That's good. What I need to do is somehow route that one into there. I remember the problem was that although the union is the correct size, it goes for a horrible angle and will probably just close up, and that's not good. So what I was going to do is cut and join it somewhere, and I need to work out where that is and buy the appropriate joiner. It's low pressure return, so it doesn't need to be mega strong, so just piece of tube with beaded ends and some really good Jubilee clips should be fine. Bit of a, well, I'm not sure whether there's a result or a fail, but basically I found a whole nother pipe. I don't know what that's off. It might be off a BRM because I had a couple of racks. This has the same union end on it. This is the bit I've just cut off the car, and I was going to make an extension with a joiner there, a bit of new pipe and a joiner there. Obviously you've got 2 potential points of failure. So what I'm thinking is I cut this one about here and then just have one join in it and then that should be a little bit more robust. And I've also found that this one has a P-clip on it already, and I've got a couple of spares, so it can all be fastened up nicely under the car. But first off, I'm going to go down the shops and see if I can find a brass, hopefully, so it won't be damaged by power steering fluid, union to connect, and then hopefully it won't be too restrictive. I don't think it'll matter. It might cause a bit of cavitation and frothing, but it should settle out by the time it gets to the reservoir. I thought it'd be fun to pop down the shops in the 420 Turbo, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to bung it through the Posh car wash, which does a much better job than me, and for not an unreasonable price. I love this car wash. I don't know how many cars I put through it, but it always seems to do a good job, and they put pretty coloured fluid in it and then neon lights, so it all looks kind of cool. Small things in life, ain't she a beauty? So I've just got my McDonald's, now I'm going to go to Halfords. Without getting run over, hopefully. Halfords was the only place open, so I've got an array of rings. I went for some of these, 3 of those and 2 of the Ford type ones, because these I can use on the SD1, these I can cut in half and use on the T16, and these I can get. Basically I've got some adjustability. That might be very optimistic to try and get in those hoses, but it might do. With a bit of hot water and a bit of brute force, they might go in, and then power steering fluid and some coolant. So I'm going to scurry home and shovel that in the car. Welcome to the kitchen. That has an ID about the right diameter of about 10 mil, but we have to try and get it in that braided reinforced hose, which is probably not that likely, but I'll have a go anyway. But that'll involve soaking that in boiling water for quite a long time, and then two-handed action to force that thing in there, and then knowing that I'll have the fun of doing the other part under the car. What am I talking about? No, that would have been a horrible idea. I've got to cut the bit of the other one off, bring that in here and chop it up and put it in. What a dickhead. Remember my clever idea about using another hose end other than this one, and then I would only need one join? And unfortunately the other hose end is knackered. This ferrule has basically seize rusted to that bit and won't turn, so I am going to have to reuse this one. But trying to get that in there is going to be problematic, to say the least. Doing it in here is one thing, doing the other end on the car is going to be tricky. But I've got my trusty Copart mug and a bit of boiling water in there, and we'll have a go and see just how much of a fight it is. If it's a no-go, then what I might have to do is cut some steel pipe and then just make sure I've got really good clamps, because although this is low pressure, it's lower pressure than what's coming out of the pump. This is the return line from the rack back to the reservoir, but it's still going to have some pressure in it. So yeah, we'll just have to make it up as we go along. Coming to the realization that while this is probably possible, it's not a good fit, so we'll have to make another plan. This is not brilliant, but it does appear to work. That is a piece of steel pipe. I've boshed a bolt in either end, which has created a very, very slight widening of the ends. It still slides in here, but it does clamp up quite nicely. And then I've put a bend in it, and it all looks like it's going to work. So I'm going to put it in the car, clamp it up, see how well these crimps on there grip it, and then I guess run the engine and see what happens. I won't run it today, I don't think, because I've got a few other things to do, but yeah, we'll see. This is looking quite good. So comes out of there. I've got it running over that one, which is probably not the best idea, but for the minute I don't want it anywhere close to the downpipe. I'll have to put some sort of protective sleeve between the two so that that can't fret through. Nice gentle bend, goes up in parallel with the high pressure one. We're clear of the drive shaft, and it looks like the bracket that is on the pipe way up there will still go to the inner wing. So all in all, it looks pretty good. And the other benefit of doing this way is that I've got metal on metal, so it shouldn't rub through. And I'll need to put a clip in here somewhere. I might drill and put a bracket on there to hold these two steady so that they can't chatter on the subframe. But yeah, all in all, looking pretty good. That's quite exciting, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? We can actually put fluid in another system. So, can't really do it one-handed, but you get the idea. Back to the exhaust. I've got two of the Ford ones. I didn't cut them in half yet because they actually fit quite well as they are. But two of these chunky monkeys, one either side at this point, like so. Then up under the back I've got a single O-ring. That one is a bit baggy, so it's not actually under tension, so I need a smaller O-ring for there. But with it chopped on wood, I'm quite happy with where it sits. So I'm going to nip everything up all the way through and take the chocks away, and hopefully it'll be nicely supported. The rear suspension needs to come down a bit, which will move the rear beam up slightly towards this, so I do want it up quite high. Even with that O-ring bagging at the back, we've still got pioneer ground clearance, so it's good all the way through. So I'm calling that a success. I'm going to move on to doing the cooling system. Okay, so we need to finalise the routing of all of the boost control hoses, fit the air filter, fit the cooling pipes, fill the thing with coolant, bleed it up. For that it'll need to be running. For that I'll need to do boost control. This car originally had an electronic boost controller from factory, controlled by the ECU, which went to this pin under here. Somebody's removed the boost controller and put a resistor in there, so I'm going to leave that like that, and I've got an aftermarket boost control system to go in. I'll explain more about that later, but for the minute I'm going to do the cooling, focus on that, get shit done. I know, well, basically that rail's fitted nicely. I've put a slight bend in it here. I've slightly rebent that one so that it will join nicely. But I can't find my cut-offs of the red hose, because I know I had chopped bits off there. All I need is about an inch or two there, 4 stainless clips, and that's the cooling system done. Can I find them? No. I'm such a dummy. I had a whole nother box which I had hidden, or basically forgot about. That is the same pipe as that, so I can chop a couple of links out and use it to terminate those. And in here I should have enough stainless steel clips to do the job. If not, they're easy to get to, and this is low pressure, so I can buy some and then swap them when I need them. This is not good. I just heard some rustling, and a furry little fucker ran from over there into my garage. So I think I might have the beginnings of a mouse infestation in here somewhere. Which is not good. You definitely ran in here. Right, so I've decanted some of that into there, mixed the rest with water. So it's about 50% concentrate, and this is the OAT coolant, which apparently is correct because it's an iron block with an alley head and now an alley radiator. So yeah, I'll pour this in there. It's apparently 7 litres of volume, so I'll have to do a little bit more after this, and once it's all up to temperature I'll have to bleed it all again anyway. Tantalising as it is, I'm going to have to leave it there for today and probably this video. But in simple terms, most of the wiring is done. I do need to wire up the fans, and I'll need a fan controller for that as well, because originally this ECU would have switched a relay to switch the fans, but they're notorious for not being great at it, so I want to run that off another sort of switch. So I'll buy an inline temp sensor and do that in another video. Boost control, I've got 2 Profec B boost controllers. One is off by Nissan and works. The other one is a bag of bits that I need to put back together again that I got off cheap on Facebook, but that'll again wait for another video. Need to fill the gearbox with oil, need to do the front ABS sensors and the rear coilovers. And that's about it, I think. There's probably loads of other stuff that I've forgotten about, but we are making progress. So next time, hopefully, we'll be driving it around the driveway. See ya.